Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Greater Victoria Real Estate Show. I'm Jane Johnston with the Bar Hill Group, and I'm here with
Jen Lowe, mortgage broker with Dominion Lending Centers, Modern Mortgage Group. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. And today we're going to have Ryan Stenquist from Condo Clear is going to be talking to us about what's happening with the condo strata market and how we review forms and stuff like that. So, but first of all, how are things going for you?
Very busy. I am very busy right now. Yeah, which is perfect when the weather's like this. Great to be inside working.
I'm actually at one of my listings in Arbutus Ridge. I'll just take you on a little tour. There normally is a view. You can sort of see it. I'm looking out. I don't know if you can see that. It's quite foggy today, but over on the other side is a peninsula.
Very nice.
Yes. So it's a beautiful home in Arbutus Ridge. If anybody's interested, it's lovely. And this is a great community. It's 55 plus community and lots to see and do here. So especially if you're not from Victoria and you're looking for a community, it's a great place to move into.
Nice.
Anyway, I'm a bit discombobulated, so we're going to bring on Ryan, and hopefully he's there. There he is. Hello, Ryan. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great.
Good.
So, Ryan, tell us what you do, actually.
So I'm the founder of Condo Clear, and what we do primarily is review and summarize strata documents for buyers and realtors all over the province.
And how long have you guys been around?
We're just over 8 years, so we had our 8-year anniversary in September. Prior to that, I was a managing broker and regional director for a large strata management company in the province. And I was actually thinking about becoming a mortgage broker at one point, and I was kind of thinking, okay, yeah, if I'm a mortgage broker, how can I leverage my experience with strata corporations to help me out as a mortgage broker? And I came up with the concept of, I could review people's strata documents. And then that literally in the span of one night, I was laying in bed thinking about this at about 11 o'clock at night. And then the thought popped into my head, and it was kind of a light bulb moment. And I didn't sleep at all. By 6 a.m. the next morning, I had the whole outline to my business plan and was like, okay, well, this could actually be a thing just by itself. So that's kind of the birth of Condo Clear.
So how has it been going?
Good. Yeah. So, I mean, anytime you're starting a new business, there's lots of challenges and you don't know what's going to happen, if it's going to be receptive. But that's kind of compounded when you're starting a brand new service altogether. Prior to Condo Clear, there was no strata document review services in BC at all. So we were the first. So it's not only starting a new company and trying to get traction there, but you're also introducing a whole entirely new service that didn't exist previously, right? So we've grown quite well despite a almost complete lack of marketing.
Yep, Jen?
It's amazing actually, because basically where I've used or recommended Condo Clear, I mean, it takes the dryness out of clients reading through months and months of strata documents. And I understand, so you basically break it down, confirm if there's any issues. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's right. And dryness is a good term for it, because it's not often very exciting reading through these things.
No.
The other part of it too, and we've had this comment from people, is like, well, I can read the minutes and I can read the financials, and absolutely, yeah, anybody can read that if you have the time and desire. The problem is there's a lot of nuance involved, so it's really easy to miss things if you don't know the ins and outs of strata corporations. And one of the things that's been really interesting with Condo Clear, I mean, we're reading hundreds of pages of strata documents every day, which can get kind of monotonous, but we are faced pretty much on a weekly basis, even though we've been doing this for 8 years, we are faced with new scenarios that we've never seen before. So that's when it kind of gets exciting for us and our nerdy selves, where you see something and then it kind of turns into a bit of an investigation, right? Like I always say that reviewing strata documents is like trying to put a puzzle together, but you don't actually know what the final picture is.
Well, I imagine though that, you know, you've been reviewing certain buildings and they come up again and again and again. I'm guessing that you really focus on Victoria, or is it all over the province?
We are all over the province. Victoria is our primary market, just because that's where I live. That's where I have the connections. That's where we've had the biggest uptake of using our services. But we do a lot in the Okanagan. We're starting to grow more in the Lower Mainland. When I first started Condo Clear, I kind of had I envisioned slow, controlled growth. I didn't want things to get too busy too fast. So I actively did not market in the Lower Mainland at all, because there's 15,000 realtors there and tens of thousands of strata deals. And we just couldn't handle that level of business. Now we are in the midst of expanding and trying to be more available to realtors and buyers all over the province.
Right, because people are looking, I guess, for a number of things, right? They're looking for the financials and figuring out whether or not there's a depreciation report and whether or not it's even being followed. Because sometimes, in some cases, in small stratas, they don't have depreciation reports. They're also looking at, I guess, I don't know if you look at the kind of political side of issues around noise and maybe like how the strata is functioning as a whole. And then you're also looking at kind of the nuts and bolts of the complex itself, of like all the structures. I would say like the 5 main systems: roof, plumbing, wiring, elevator, foundation, garage, all that stuff. And I imagine you're getting a picture of the strata over time as you're reviewing it again and again and again. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially in the Victoria area, where we do between 20 to 30% of all the strata deals in the greater Victoria area. So we do see a lot of buildings over and over again. So that's helpful when it comes to providing that kind of historical information. So we're at the point now where if we reviewed a building 6 years ago, that information typically wouldn't be available to buyers today. But because we have that information, we can provide longer forecasts as far as financial history, what their year-end balances have been, what their strata fee increases have been over a much greater period than just that 2 years, right? So that's handy. Yep.
So I have another question. I'm just wondering, because you're not putting eyeballs on the building itself, is that a bit of an inhibitor, or do you work with any building inspectors who do put eyeballs on, like can tell you, okay, the roof was done and it was done correctly, or, you know, we're seeing issues? Or what do you recommend also with inspectors if a buyer finds a problem and they find it during the inspection, should it be reported to the strata? How do people handle that? So first of all, working with inspectors and following up with the strata.
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So from our side, because we don't know what the building looks like, we don't know what the unit looks like, we have no idea what your purchase price is or contracted offer was. So I think it's better in that way because we're completely unbiased. All we're looking at is the documents itself. No matter how beautiful the building is or the unit is, that plays no part in our review at all. As far as the inspection side of things, we don't work directly with any inspectors. It is something I've tried to do, but it's tricky. What I usually recommend is if we can do the document review first before the inspector gets in there, we can flag any potential maintenance repair issues around the Strata Corporation. You can then give that to your inspector and they can take a look at those specific things. And that can work really well. We do work with the Home Inspectors Association of BC, HIABC, and we've got a bit of a strategic partnership with them where if people are using one of those inspectors, then they can actually get a discount on our services, and we will work more closely with the inspector in those cases. But ultimately, the limiting factor there is time. A lot of these deals, the turnaround time is only 4 or 5 days before you have to remove subjects. So in order to coordinate a document inspection plus the inspection in the ideal format is really tricky.
Plus, I find a lot of building inspectors don't actually look at the whole building. They look at the condo itself. So you want to find a building inspector for a strata who can look at the whole building, get in and see what, like the boiler, maybe the common boiler, how the elevator's doing, if there are issues with the roof.
Yeah, and that can be tricky because it's not only just about the inspector, but a lot of strata corporations will not allow inspectors access to things like the roof, the mechanical rooms, that sort of stuff. So it's highly dependent on the strata corporation as well.
Mm-hmm.
What's your biggest challenge with reviewing strata documents?
Well, I'm sure Jane can identify with this, and this is something that I did not foresee being as big of a problem as it is, but getting your hands on the documents is incredibly difficult. The stat is when we receive the document package, the initial one, when people place an order with us, over 95%, probably closer to 98 or 99% of them are missing documents. So the first stage of our process is once we see that package, we go through it, we organize it, we title it in a way that makes sense, because oftentimes it's just a mess of documents thrown into a zip folder. And then we send back the realtor and the buyer a list of anything that's missing or things that we recommend looking at. And even with doing that, we often end up doing the reviews still without all the documents, because trying to get those from the strata corporation or the management company is a much more prolonged and challenging process than I think it should be.
Yeah, and often we find on our end anyway that we're requesting them and we're not getting them. And or things like the Form B are incorrect. So we're actually not always sure we're getting the correct information to provide to the buyers, but we have to depend on it. So it is handy to have a third party review it.
Yeah, and that's as far as errors on the Form Bs. This is another big issue that we see on a weekly basis. I mean, probably multiple times a week. The problem with that is that the Form B is a prescribed form under the Strata Property Act, and it is a binding document on the Strata Corporation. So you should be able to rely on that information. One of the problems is, and there's a number of different management companies that I'm not going to name specifically, but they're not using the prescribed version of the Form B. I mean, we have seen Strata management companies that are still using the Form B from pre-2012 when they added the parking and storage information on there. And to me, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like, filling out a Form B should not be an onerous or difficult task, especially when you're managing the building, you have that information. So those types of errors really are something that should not be happening.
Yeah.
Well, from the lending side, I know when we receive the Strata package, it's much appreciated when the realtor's taken the time to label them correctly, or, yes, very much appreciated. Right? If I'm looking for the special assessment information or whatever it is, or the AGM, the most recent AGM, I appreciate it when it's labeled correctly.
The other thing is, like, as a listing realtor, we are signing the listing, then we are able to get the Strata docs, then we are doing the marketing, then we're getting all the doing all the marketing side and connecting with other realtors and buyers and stuff. And all this is happening at the same time that maybe an offer comes in, and then we realize, okay, now, not everything is there. We've organized it all, but not everything is there. Do you use AI to help you with this sort of stuff?
We don't use AI for our reviews at all. Nor is there any immediate plans to. There are AI options out there, and I am a big fan of AI. Like, we use it for drafting our marketing stuff and different things like that. And I find I look at AI as a really good, like, administrative assistant. It really helps you get things going, but it can't do 100% of the jobs that I've found at all. So I have tested the AI systems that have been built for Strata document reviews, and the results were not good. There's three main ones in BC that I'm aware of at this point. And about 10 months ago, I did a full-on comparison with one of our reviews, and then I stuck those same documents through these AI systems. And at a minimum between those three systems is they missed at least 40 points of information, and they were flat out wrong on at least 12 of them. 12 things where they stated something, and then it turned out to not be accurate at all, which is scary because even one of those points of information being wrong could potentially stick your buyers in a really bad situation and yourself as a realtor, right? So going back to the labeling the documents and organizing them, that is an area that we have started using AI, because when you're going through and manually looking at those documents and retitling them and stuff, that can take an hour to an hour and a half of our time just organizing them. So we have actually built a system where AI helps us label those in a specific way and tells us what's there. And that's something that I'm working on right now, where we do offer a service for listing agents where we go through and organize the documents and give you back a list of anything that's missing, retitle them. But with the AI system that we're using, I'm hoping in the next few months we'll actually be able to release that as a really cheap or potentially even free service for buyers, strata corporations, realtors, et cetera, to use just to help organize their documents.
I also find that, sometimes you're requesting documents. I know in our case that the document isn't there. Like there is no document. It's referred to maybe, but it actually never came out.
Yeah, that does come up. The amount of times that, because we are very thorough when we're going through the documents, because again, and this is something that I get questions from buyers and realtors all the time, is this document important? And ultimately the answer is maybe. We don't know until we actually see the document. But any of the things that we request as our standard checklist of documents, there could be material information in any one of those documents that could affect a buyer's decision, right? So when we request those things, we have gotten the default response from strata corporations or management companies multiple times where they say, oh, that document doesn't exist. And we say, oh, well, interesting, because you mentioned it in the March 2025 minutes, and then again in the June 2025 minutes, and then amazingly that document just happens to appear out of thin air. And I've been through that process I don't know how many times. It's very, very rare where we point something out that is missing, that it doesn't actually exist. That is the default answer that we get from stratas a lot of the time, but in reality that document typically ends up being produced eventually.
That would bring me huge satisfaction, getting a copy of that document.
Jen,
I love that.
Jen, what do you find is the biggest issue with strata docs and review?
The organization of it, like just getting the package and it just being a disaster, and the time that I have to then take to go through and find what I'm needing. I mean, lenders don't want to look at strata documents, really honestly. They avoid it. Quite often we just have to provide a copy of the Form B. And as long as that's accurate and correct, then we're good. But if there's any issues noted on the Form B or special assessments or other things, then the lender will ask for strata documents.
It would be really helpful if people actually also labeled the documents Form B.
Yes.
Because sometimes like EPS, blah, 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 which is a strata number. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to go through all of them to get to the Form B. So we actually relabeled them. Same with the depreciation report, because those are important. We also give our clients a strategy of what to review first. So we get them to look at the Form B just to sort of see the big picture before they go in. And we tell them to look at the minutes so that they see the sort of, if they can read between the lines. I find that there's often things that are not said that maybe, should be said, or maybe something's mentioned and then it's not followed up, just checking all of that stuff. So, and then we invite them if they want to go through it with us as well. But often they're overwhelmed, I'm finding. So it does help to have a third party review them for sure.
And that's a really good point that you said, is reading between the lines. And that's a lot of what we do, is reading between the lines. Like, what are they saying versus what are they not saying? And so we often, it'll at least kind of pique your interest about a certain thing, and then you know to pay attention to that certain thing. Because in an ideal world, it would be very clear. In the minutes, they'd say, oh, we're expecting a special levy of $500,000 coming up in 2026. But in reality, you have to put together a whole bunch of different pieces of information to come to those kinds of conclusions. A good example that I've used many times, I was reviewing this building in Victoria probably about 2 years ago. And I'm going through the council meeting minutes, and there was one entry that was titled new CCTV server or hard drive. And so typically that sort of thing would not spur a lot of interest from our side. Like, that's generally not a material buyer's decision type of item that we're going to pay attention to. But I read through the paragraph that was there, and the reason why they needed a new CCTV hard drive was because there was a leak in the foundation, and that water got onto the CCTV hard drive. Well, now we're talking about a foundation leak, not just a new security camera system, right? So things like that, where people just assume that the minutes should be clear, and they're not at all a lot of the time. I mean, it varies significantly from strata to strata and management company to management company. But the standard for how strata documents are presented, especially the minutes and financials, varies significantly across the board.
The same thing goes for noise, which is a huge issue when you're living in a building. And you can also read between the lines about how the community works when they talk about the gardening committee and thanking people. And, you know, I am in a strata as well. We own a property that has a strata. So it's interesting to me to also see it from the other side, just to see how the meetings function and the importance of having a good strata management company, frankly, in knowing how to manage the strata.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the community aspect is something that we continuously try and reinforce with buyers, is that it's really easy to get caught up in how the unit looks, how the building looks, the financial situation, et cetera. But one of the things that I constantly tell buyers is that you're not just buying an investment, you're also buying a lifestyle and a community. Mm-hmm. And if your interests or your stage of life doesn't meld well with your neighbors, you can have a lot of friction there. And back when I was managing strata properties, there was a number of times where people bought units, moved into the building, and then listed it 6 months later just because they didn't like the community. And so that's one of the things that we try and highlight. When we're doing these summaries, we're not just looking for all the bad things. We are trying to paint a picture in as brief a period as possible for buyers so that they understand. So if there's things like gardening committees or social events, we like to highlight those just to show that this is actually a cohesive community. And if you buy in here, then that's the option that you're going to have available to you.
Yeah, I love my strata, actually. They're awesome.
I don't hear that very often, so I'm really happy to hear that.
And their strata manager is funny. She showed up with purple hair.
Now I'm curious where you live. You'll have to tell me offline.
Okay. We're going to run out of time, so I just want to thank you for coming. How do people get in touch with you, Ryan?
CondoClear.ca is our website. That's the best way. Our order form is on there. Our contact form is on there. People can try and call us and email us, but honestly, going through the website is going to be the absolute quickest route. We've got a ton of great resources on there. We do a weekly email that's strata tips for realtors and owners and buyers. So that's been really handy. And those are all on our website as well. So, and generally, if people just have general strata questions, and we offer this to all of our clients too, is even 6 months after we do a review, if you have questions about something, there's something going on in your strata corporation, give us a call, give us an email. We're happy to have a chat with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming today. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. See you later. Bye-bye. All right, Jim.
That's great.
We're just going to move on to the second part of the show, which is your financing and then the stats. So what's going on with financing? Anything exciting?
Nothing too exciting. I mean, well, we've got the next rate announcement is on December 10th by the Bank of Canada. Right now, the current expectation is that there's not going to be a further reduction in 2025. What we have seen is a bit of a relief for variable rate mortgage holders. And those variable rates are now, there's rates around 3.6, 3.7% for a variable. Sort of the sweet spot for fixed rates right now is about 3.79 for a 3-year. So
And why 3-year? Why not 5-year? So
the 5-year is higher right now. It's a little bit higher. I mean, not significantly, like we're talking 3.79 to 3.94. But yeah, I mean, sometimes that concerns me a little bit because you wonder what the expectation or thought is for where rates are going to be in 3 years. Because yeah, ultimately the banks do know more than we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just see thank you very much for that. Let's just see what's
You're
going on
welcome.
with the stats. And I'm going to have to lean in here.
I'll do it too so that we can do it together. Yeah.
I'm on my laptop. Okay, so this week we had 198 new listings as compared to 227 for last year. And we can expect, or last week, we can expect them to go down as we go through the year. We have 118 pending, and that's compared to 149 over the last 7 days, and price decreases were at 114. So this is interesting because the pending and the rate decreases have been pretty much on par for the past few weeks. And then expired listings are 62 for this week and 57 last week. And we are finding that people are starting to take their house off the market. So if you are interested in selling, it actually is a good time to keep your house on the market just because you're going to have less competition.
Good point.
Sorry?
Good point.
Yeah. So the list to sale ratio right now is still pretty high over the past 7 days of 59.6%, but it is down from last week, which was at 65%. So, and then for year over year, month to date, we have 119. I hate it when it does this. Sorry, it is over the number. 119 net unconditional sales, and that's compared to, can you read that number next to it?
551.
Okay, and that's for the whole month.
Last year.
And then the next number, 249 pending, and that's compared to?
802, same month last year.
Okay. And then total active listings, we're coming down at 3288, and that's compared to 2836 last year. And I remember last year thinking November was hot. We actually just reviewed our stats. We sold 11 homes last year in November, and this year we're very slow, I'm finding.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I'm just finding, I think the BCGEU strike really affected things.
Yes, 100%.
I think in terms of condos, the fact that we have disincentives for people to invest in condos now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've lost a lot of those buyers. And then just the whole American political thing and what's happening with kind of unrest there.
Yep, for sure.
So 3 strikes. All right. So if you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube or any other listening channels that you are on. If you are a podcast person, please don't forget to comment. We'd love to hear what you have to say and share it with a friend who may be thinking of buying or selling. Andrew is on his way back, so he'll be with us next week. And Jen's going to be talking about what next week, Jen?
Down payment. Break down payments.
Awesome. So if you want to reach Andrew, you can give him a call, 250-360-6106, and you can email him at info@andrewplank.com, and you can visit him at andrewplank.com. And Jen, how do people reach you?
I am at 250-217-4925. Email jen@jenlowe.ca, and my website is jenlowe.ca.
All right. You want to reach me? My name's Jane Johnston. My number is 250-744-0775. And you can reach me at jane@briarhillgroup.com, or you can visit our website at briarhillgroup.com. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at realtyteacher_Remax Victoria. And we do have a new Instagram page, Greater Victoria Real Estate Show. And we also have a YouTube page. So visit us there. All right. We will be on next Thursday at 9:30. Hopefully, if that changes, we'll let you know. And you can always look at us on YouTube to look at former shows. All right, you guys, have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
It was great to see you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.